The massive alien ships hung in space like dark clouds around Earth's moon. Admiral Kyle Harrison stood on the bridge of his warship, watching the enemy fleet through the main screen. His hands gripped the metal rail as bad news came from all over the solar system. "Sir, they destroyed our space stations," said Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez from her computer. "The Mars colonies stopped talking to us, and the asteroid miners want to leave right now." The big screen lit up, showing a scary alien creature. This was Overlord Vexithari, the enemy commander. He had 4 arms and looked like nothing Harrison had ever seen. His species was called the Zephyrians, and they had been attacking human space for 3 days. "Weak humans," the alien said through the translation machine. "Your fighting ends today. Give us your planet, and maybe some of you can work for us as slaves." Captain Lisa Morgan stood next to Harrison. She was Earth's best space explorer and had been called back from the far edge of space just for this fight. Her blue eyes stayed locked on the alien commander. "Earth says no," Harrison replied, keeping his voice steady even though they had no chance of winning. "We will never give up." The alien's mouth parts clicked together, which meant he was laughing at them. "Then you will die like the 17 other species we beat this year. Your technology is old, your ships are few, and your weapons are like toys to us." The alien turned off the communication, and the bridge became quiet except for the sound of broken machines. The Zephyrians had been slowly destroying Earth's defenses for 3 days. They always offered surrender before the final attack. This was how they fought. They broke the spirit of other species before killing them. "Sir," whispered Jake Turner from the communication station. "We have a message from Earth. It's Ambassador Peter Caldwell." Harrison looked confused. Caldwell was Earth's top diplomat, working on a neutral space station far away. What could a diplomat do when they were about to lose the war? "Put him on screen, but keep it secret." A thin, older man with gray hair appeared on a small screen. Even though he was light years away, Ambassador Caldwell looked calm and peaceful. "Admiral Harrison, Captain Morgan," Caldwell said hello to both officers. "I hope you have been following the first contact rules during this fight." "Ambassador, with respect, this isn't a first contact anymore," Morgan said with anger in her voice. "They have been shooting at us for 3 days." Caldwell smiled, which seemed strange when they were about to lose everything. "Actually, Captain, this is exactly when the rules matter most. Tell me, have you started rule number 1? The bridge crew looked at each other with confusion. Rule number 1 was buried deep in the diplomatic rules, rarely talked about outside of advanced alien politics classes. "The Universal Documentation Rule?" Harrison asked. "Ambassador, we are about to lose the war. How could this possibly help us?" "Admiral," Caldwell said gently, "trust me. Start rule number 1 right now. Record everything about this fight. All tactical decisions, alien behavior patterns, everything. Send it all to the Deep Space Communication Network." On the main screen, the Zephyrian fleet began moving forward, their weapons charging with dangerous energy. "Ambassador, they are coming," Morgan said urgently. "We have maybe 10 minutes before they destroy us." "Then you had better hurry," Caldwell replied. "Jake, start the documentation protocol immediately. Record every detail of their attack patterns, every communication, every tactical decision we make. Upload it all to the Galactic network." Turner's fingers flew over his controls, sweat running down his face. "Sir, this will take time we don't have." "The upload systems are already damaged." "Do it anyway," Harrison ordered, still not understanding why a diplomatic rule mattered when they were about to die. The Zephyrian ships moved closer, their formation perfect and confident. They had done this many times before. To them, this was not a battle, it was an execution. They knew they would win easily. "Upload starting," Turner reported, sending all battle records, communication logs, tactical data, even our crew stress readings. "Everything is going to the network archives." Captain Morgan watched the alien ships approach. "They are not even trying to dodge or protect themselves," she said. "Look at that formation, it's like a parade." Lieutenant Rodriguez nodded from her station. "They have done this before, Captain." "Many times. This is not a battle to them. It's a ceremony." The main screen showed Overlord Vexithari again. This time his forearms were raised in what looked like a ritual. Behind him, other alien officers were doing the same movements. "Humans of Earth," the alien commander said. "You have seen the power of the Zephyrian Empire. Your fighting, while brave in its hopelessness, only delays what must happen. We give you one last chance to surrender with honor." Admiral Harrison looked at his crew. Young Turner was still uploading desperately to the network. Rodriguez was calculating their few remaining options. Morgan stood strong despite their hopeless situation. These were good people, and they deserved better than to die in a fight they could not win. But Ambassador Caldwell's words echoed in his mind. Rule number 1. Why would a diplomatic rule matter now? Overlord Vexithari, Harrison replied. We understand your superior military position. However, as representatives of Earth and following standard galactic diplomatic rules, we must tell you that this fight has been fully recorded under Rule number 1 of the Universal Contact Agreements. For the first time, something changed in the alien commander's behavior. His mouth parts stopped clicking and his four eyes focused hard on Harrison. Say that again. Human. All parts of this fight, your tactics, our responses, the systematic destruction of our defenses, and all communications, have been recorded and sent to the Galactic Archive Network under Rule number 1 protocols. The silence that followed lasted for almost a full minute. Behind Vexithari, Morgan could see other alien officers moving with sudden worry. Their confident attitudes were replaced by what looked like fear. Upload complete, Turner announced quietly. Everything has been sent to the network. Battle logs, tactical data, communication records. All of it. Vexithari's image flickered as if the transmission was being disrupted from his end. When it came back, the alien commander's expression had completely changed. Human ships, stay where you are. No more fighting is allowed. We are reconsidering the tactical situation. The Zephyrian fleet, which had been moving forward with unstoppable confidence just moments before, suddenly stopped. Morgan watched in amazement as the alien ships actually began to move back to a safer distance. What just happened? Rodriguez whispered. Harrison was beginning to understand, a smile slowly growing on his weathered face. Jake, open a channel to Ambassador Caldwell. When the diplomat appeared on screen, his calm expression had not changed. I assume the Zephyrians have reconsidered their immediate plans. Ambassador, Morgan said slowly. What exactly is Rule number 1? Caldwell's smile grew wider. Rule number 1, Captain, is the foundation of all galactic civilization. It says that any military fight between species must be fully recorded and archived for review by the Galactic Council. More importantly, it establishes the legal framework for what constitutes legitimate warfare versus what constitutes war crimes. As the Zephyrian ship stopped their attack, Communications Officer Jake Turner worked frantically at his station. His fingers moved quickly over the quantum encryption keys. The Deep Space Network connection was established, and he began uploading everything. Battle logs, tactical analyses, full recordings of every Zephyrian communication, even the stress data from their own crew. Upload at 60%, Turner reported, sweat running down his forehead. The quantum transmitters are getting too hot, but we are getting everything to the network archives. Captain Lisa Morgan studied the alien formation that had stopped moving toward them. She noticed their precise movements and overwhelming confidence. They are not even trying to avoid our weapons, she observed. Look at that formation. It looks like a ceremony. Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez nodded from her tactical station. They have done this before, Captain. Many times. This is not a battle to them. It is an execution. On the main screen, Overlord Vexithari appeared again. His forearms were raised in what appeared to be a ritual gesture. Behind him, Morgan could see other Zephyrian officers performing similar movements. Humans of Earth, the alien commander announced. You have witnessed the might of the Zephyrian Empire. Your resistance, while admirable in its hopelessness, serves only to delay what must happen. We offer you one final opportunity to surrender with dignity. Admiral Kyle Harrison looked at his crew. Young Turner was still uploading desperately to the network. Rodriguez was calculating their few remaining tactical options. Morgan stood firm despite their hopeless situation. These were good people, and they deserved better than to die in a hopeless battle. But Ambassador Caldwell's words kept repeating in his mind. Rule number 1. Why would a diplomatic protocol matter now? Overlord Vexithari, Harrison replied. We acknowledge your superior military position. However, as representatives of Earth and in accordance with standard galactic diplomatic protocols, we must inform you that this engagement has been fully documented under Rule number 1 of the Universal Contact Accords. For the first time, something changed in the alien commander's behavior. His mouth parts stopped clicking and his four eyes focused intently on Harrison. Repeat that statement, Human. All aspects of this engagement, your tactics, our responses, the systematic destruction of our defenses, and all communications, have been documented and transmitted to the Galactic Archive Network under Rule Number 1 protocols. The silence that followed stretched for nearly a full minute. Behind Vexithari, Morgan could see other Zephyrian officers moving with sudden urgency. Their previously confident postures were replaced by what looked remarkably like concern. "Upload complete," Turner announced quietly. "Everything has been archived to the network. Battle logs, tactical data, communication records, all of it." Vexithari's image flickered as if the transmission was being disrupted from his end. When it stabilized, the alien commander's expression had changed completely. "Human vessels, maintain your current positions. No further hostile actions are authorized. We are reassessing the tactical situation." The Zephyrian fleet, which had been advancing with unstoppable confidence just moments before, suddenly halted. Morgan watched in amazement as the alien ships actually began to withdraw to a safer distance. "What just happened?" Rodriguez whispered. Harrison was beginning to understand, a smile slowly spreading across his weathered face. "Jake, open a channel to Ambassador Caldwell." When the diplomat's image appeared, his serene expression remained unchanged. "I take it the Zephyrians have reconsidered their immediate approach?" "Ambassador," Morgan said slowly, "what exactly is Rule Number 1? Caldwell's smile widened. "Rule Number 1, Captain, is the foundation of all galactic civilization. It states that any military engagement between species must be fully documented and archived for review by the Galactic Council. More importantly, it establishes the legal framework for what constitutes legitimate warfare versus what constitutes war crimes." The bridge crew stared at the diplomat as the implications began to sink in. Turner was the first to speak. "You mean they cannot attack us because we recorded everything?" "Not exactly," Caldwell explained patiently. "They can still attack us, but now every detail of their actions will be reviewed by the Galactic Council. Their overwhelming technological advantage, their systematic destruction of civilian targets, their offers of slavery, all of it is now part of the official record." Rodriguez looked confused. "But why does that matter? They are still stronger than us." "Because, Lieutenant, the galaxy has laws. The Galactic Accord specifically prohibits certain types of warfare between species with significant technological differences. What the Zephyrians have been doing to us, and apparently to 16 other species, may not be legal warfare. It may be systematic predation." Captain Morgan leaned forward. "You are saying they have been committing war crimes?" "I am saying that the evidence we just transmitted will allow the Galactic Council to make that determination," Caldwell replied carefully. "The Zephyrians know this. That is why they stopped their attack." On the main screen, they could see frantic activity on the Zephyrian ships. Several smaller vessels had detached from the main fleet and were heading away at high speed, probably carrying messages back to their homeworld. "Sir," Turner reported, "we are receiving multiple incoming transmissions from various sources. The Kepler Station Diplomatic Corps, the Centauri Trade Alliance, even some species I have never heard of. Word is spreading fast through the Galactic Communication Network." Harrison stood straighter. "What are they saying?" "Most of them are requesting copies of our documentation. Some are offering legal assistance. A few are, well, they are congratulating us on proper protocol implementation." Morgan shook her head in amazement. "We went from being about to die to being congratulated on paperwork." "Not just paperwork, Captain," Caldwell corrected. "You have potentially exposed a pattern of illegal military action that spans multiple species and years of systematic abuse. The Zephyrians built their empire by attacking species that could not fight back effectively. They have been very careful to avoid conflicts with species that might pose a real threat." "Like bullies," Rodriguez said with understanding. "Exactly like bullies, and bullies tend to become very careful when someone starts keeping detailed records of their behavior." The main screen activated again, but this time it was not Overlord Vexithari. Instead, a different Zephyrian appeared, older with more elaborate crystalline formations on his carapace. "Human vessels, I am Jurist Prime Kethmore of the Zephyrian Legal Council. We request immediate communication with your diplomatic representative regarding the documentation you have transmitted under galactic protocols." Harrison looked at the screen, then at his crew. "Ambassador Caldwell, I think you are needed here." "Already on my way, Admiral." My ship left Kepler Station the moment you initiated rule number 1. I should arrive in your system within 6 hours. 6 hours? Morgan asked. How did you know we would need you? Caldwell's expression became serious. Because, Captain, I have been studying Zephyrian expansion patterns for months. They always follow the same procedure. Overwhelming force, offers of surrender, systematic destruction, final ultimatum. I was waiting for them to make the mistake of trying it on a species that understood galactic law. Turner looked up from his station. Sir, the Zephyrian legal representative is requesting a formal ceasefire pending diplomatic resolution. Grant it, Harrison ordered. And Jake? Yes, sir. Start recording this conversation, too. Something tells me we are going to need a very complete record of everything that happens next. As the immediate threat receded, the bridge crew began to process what had just occurred. They had gone from facing certain death to holding what appeared to be a strong legal position in Galactic Court. It was not the kind of victory any of them had expected, but it was victory nonetheless. Admiral, Morgan said quietly, what happens if we win this legal case? Harrison considered the question carefully. I suppose we find out what justice looks like when it is backed by galactic law instead of superior firepower. Outside the viewports, the Zephyrian fleet maintained its distance, no longer the unstoppable force it had appeared to be just minutes earlier. Instead, they waited, and for the first time since arriving in Earth's system, they looked uncertain. The documentation protocol had worked exactly as designed. Now they would discover whether the galaxy's legal system was as powerful as its military technology. The space station orbiting Kepler 442b was huge and beautiful, with spinning rings and towers that housed dozens of different alien species. Inside its central court chamber, representatives from across the galaxy had gathered for what many considered the most important legal case in recent memory. Ambassador Peter Caldwell sat at the human delegation table, reviewing the massive documentation file that had been transmitted from Earth 3 weeks earlier. Beside him, Admiral Kyle Harrison and Captain Lisa Morgan represented the military perspective, while Dr. Janet Phillips, Earth's leading expert on alien biology, provided scientific analysis of the evidence. Across the chamber, the Zephyrian delegation occupied a specially built crystalline platform. Overlord Vexithari was notably absent. He had been called back to the Zephyrian homeworld immediately after Earth's Rule No. 1 declaration. In his place sat Jurist Prime Kethmore, a more diplomatic member of their species whose job was to minimize the damage to Zephyrians standing in galactic society. The presiding judge was Arbiter Yisquin, a member of the ancient Verdanian species whose civilization had helped establish the galactic legal framework thousands of years ago. Her snake-like form coiled elegantly on the judicial platform, her many-faceted eyes taking in every detail of the proceedings. This tribunal has reviewed the documentation submitted under Rule No. 1 protocols, Arbiter Yisquin announced, her voice carrying the weight of centuries. The evidence presents a clear pattern of behavior that requires careful examination. Dr. Phillips leaned forward, activating the holographic display system. The chamber filled with tactical recordings from the Earth engagement, showing the systematic destruction of human defenses and the Zephyrian fleet's overwhelming advantages. Honorable Arbiter, Phillips began, the evidence shows that the Zephyrian forces possessed overwhelming technological and numerical superiority. Their weapons were approximately 4 centuries more advanced than human technology, and they outnumbered Earth's defensive fleet by a ratio of 50-1. The recordings continued, showing Vexithari's communications offering surrender terms, followed by the methodical destruction of orbital platforms, mining stations, and colony ships. Note the pattern, Dr. Phillips continued. Ultimatum, demonstration of power, offer of surrender, further destruction, repeated offers of surrender. This is not warfare. This is systematic intimidation of a technologically inferior species. Jurist Prime Kethmore activated his own display, showing similar engagements with other species. Honored Arbiter, the Zephyrian hegemony has always operated within established parameters of conquest. We offer terms, we demonstrate superiority, we provide multiple opportunities for peaceful surrender. This minimizes casualties and allows for orderly integration of conquered territories. That is exactly the problem. Ambassador Caldwell interjected smoothly. The Galactic Accords specifically prohibit the conquest of developing species through technological intimidation. Article 7. Section 12 clearly states that any military engagement between species with a technological gap greater than 2 centuries constitutes an act of predation, not legitimate warfare. The chamber fell silent as the implications became clear. Captain Morgan stood, her voice carrying across the vast space. The evidence shows that humanity was never a military threat to the Zephyrian hegemony. We could not have been. Their technology was so far beyond ours that this was less a war than an extermination. They attacked us not because we threatened them, but because they could. Arbiter Yisquin's many-faceted eyes focused on the Zephyrian delegation. Jurist Prime Kethmore, how do you respond to these allegations? The crystalline alien's form shifted colors, a sign of distress among his species. Honored Arbiter, the Zephyrian hegemony has conquered 17 species in this galactic cycle. All followed similar patterns. If our actions against humanity constitute predation, then... He stopped, realizing what he had just admitted. Then all 17 conquests were illegal acts of predation. Dr. Phillips finished. And under galactic law, all 17 species must be granted immediate independence and reparations. The chamber erupted in multilingual discussions as representatives from various civilizations began to understand the full scope of what had just been revealed. Admiral Harrison smiled grimly as he watched the Zephyrian delegation huddle in emergency consultation. Several alien species that had been watching quietly suddenly became very interested. A tall, blue-skinned delegate from the Rigel system stood up. Honored Arbiter, the Rigelian Republic requests permission to present evidence. Our homeworld was conquered by Zephyrian forces 2 years ago, under circumstances identical to those described in the human documentation. Another delegate, this one from a species that looked like walking trees, also stood. The Groot Collective also requests permission to present evidence. Our peaceful research stations were destroyed by Zephyrian forces who offered us slavery or death. Within minutes, representatives from a dozen different species were requesting permission to present evidence of similar Zephyrian attacks. Each told the same story. Overwhelming technological superiority used against peaceful, developing civilizations. Arbiter Yisquin, Ambassador Caldwell stood formally. Humanity requests that this tribunal invoke Article 9 of the Galactic Accords, the Protection of Developing Species Protocol. We further request immediate investigation into all Zephyrian military actions over the past galactic cycle. The ancient Verdanian judge coiled higher on her platform, her voice resonating with judicial authority. This tribunal acknowledges the requests and the additional evidence being presented. Jurist Prime Kethmore, does the Zephyrian hegemony wish to respond to these expanded allegations? The crystalline alien was now cycling through colors that indicated extreme distress. Honored Arbiter, the Zephyrian hegemony. We believed our actions were within legal parameters. We offered surrender terms to all conquered species. Offering surrender terms to species incapable of meaningful resistance is not diplomacy, Dr. Phillips said firmly. It is psychological warfare designed to break the will of developing civilizations. Captain Morgan approached the main display. May I show the tribunal something specific from our records? At the Arbiter's nod, Morgan activated a detailed analysis of the Zephyrian attack patterns. Look at this tactical data. They never attacked military targets first. They always began with civilian infrastructure, space stations, mining operations, research facilities. Then they would offer surrender. When that was refused, they would destroy more civilian targets and offer surrender again. The pattern was clear and damning. The Zephyrians were not conducting military operations. They were conducting terror campaigns designed to force submission through fear. Furthermore, Morgan continued, notice that they never attempted to disable our ships or capture our personnel. Every weapon they used was designed for complete destruction. They were not trying to win a war. They were trying to commit genocide slowly enough to extract surrender. The chamber was completely silent now. Even the Zephyrian delegation had stopped their frantic consultations. Honored Arbiter, came a new voice from the gallery. It was the Rigelian delegate again. If I may, I would like to read the exact words offered to my people by the Zephyrian commander. He activated his own recording. Primitive creatures, your resistance is pointless. Surrender now and serve us, or watch your children die slowly in the void of space. Similar recordings were played by other delegates. The pattern was identical. Overwhelming force used against helpless populations. followed by offers that were less negotiations than threats. Arbiter Isquin coiled thoughtfully on her platform. This tribunal will recess for deliberation. All parties will remain available for further questioning. As the chamber began to empty, Captain Morgan approached Ambassador Caldwell. You knew this would happen, did you not? You knew that rule number 1 would expose their entire expansion policy. Caldwell nodded, his expression thoughtful. The Zephyrians are excellent warriors and efficient administrators, but they are terrible lawyers. They have been committing the same legal violations for decades, assuming that no developing species would ever understand galactic law well enough to challenge them. And now, Admiral Harrison asked, now we wait for the tribunal's decision, but I suspect the Zephyrian hegemony is about to discover that the galaxy has rules, and consequences for breaking them. Dr. Phillips reviewed her notes one more time. Peter, if the tribunal rules in our favor, what happens to all those conquered species? They get their freedom back, Caldwell replied simply, and the Zephyrians get to explain to the galaxy why they thought systematic predation was an acceptable form of diplomacy. As they left the chamber, the Zephyrian delegation remained behind, their crystalline forms dim with what appeared to be despair. For the first time in their expansion, they faced the possibility that their victims might actually win. The tribunal chamber was packed beyond capacity when Arbiter Isquin returned with the court's decision. Representatives from dozens of species filled every available space, with many more attending through quantum communication links. The importance of the moment was clear. The decision about to be announced would reshape the balance of power in this entire sector of the galaxy. Ambassador Peter Caldwell maintained his calm appearance, but Captain Lisa Morgan could see the tension in his shoulders. Admiral Kyle Harrison sat forward in his chair, hands clasped tightly, while Dr. Janet Phillips reviewed her notes one final time. The Zephyrian delegation had tripled in size overnight. Jurist Prime Kethmore was now flanked by what appeared to be their most senior legal advisors, their crystalline forms shifting through darker color spectrums, a clear indication of their anxiety. After careful deliberation, Arbiter Isquin began, her ancient voice carrying across the silent chamber. This tribunal has reached a unanimous decision regarding the allegations brought forward under Rule Number 1 protocols. The holographic displays around the chamber activated, showing detailed legal analyses of the evidence presented. The documentation, provided by the human delegation, clearly demonstrates a pattern of systematic predation by Zephyrian forces against technologically inferior species. The evidence shows that in each case the Zephyrian hegemony possessed overwhelming advantages that made any meaningful resistance impossible. Dr. Phillips smiled as the arbiter continued. Furthermore, the tribunal finds that the Zephyrian practice of offering surrender terms to species incapable of effective resistance constitutes psychological warfare designed to break the will of developing civilizations. Jurist Prime Kethmore's form had shifted to a deep amber color, what alien biologists recognized as a state of profound distress among his species. Therefore, Arbiter Isquin announced, this tribunal finds the Zephyrian hegemony guilty of 17 counts of predatory expansion in violation of Articles 7-9 and 12 of the Galactic Accords. The chamber erupted in a mixture of sounds as representatives from various species reacted to the decision. Several of the Zephyrian delegation immediately activated their communication devices, presumably reporting the disaster to their homeworld. The tribunal orders the following remedies, the arbiter continued, her voice cutting through the noise. First, all 17 species conquered by the Zephyrian hegemony in the current galactic cycle are hereby granted immediate independence. Admiral Harrison felt a surge of satisfaction. Earth was free, officially and legally free. Second, the Zephyrian hegemony will provide full reparations to all affected species, including compensation for destroyed infrastructure, loss of life, and economic damages. Captain Morgan leaned toward Ambassador Caldwell. How much are we talking about? Caldwell consulted his datapad, his eyebrows rising slightly. Based on preliminary calculations, enough to accelerate Earth's technological development by at least 3 centuries. Third, Arbiter Isquin continued, the Zephyrian hegemony will be placed under galactic supervision for a period of 50 standard years, during which all military actions must be pre-approved by this tribunal. The Zephyrian delegation was now in complete disarray, their forms cycling through colors that indicated everything from rage to panic to despair. Finally, the arbiter concluded, this tribunal commends the human delegation for their proper invocation of Rule Number 1 protocols and their thorough documentation of the violations. This case will serve as a precedent for protecting developing species throughout the galaxy. As the formal session concluded, representatives from the freed species began approaching the human delegation. The Rigelian delegate was first. Ambassador Caldwell, the Rigelian Republic owes humanity a debt we can never repay. Without your courage in invoking the documentation protocols, we would have remained slaves forever. The tree-like delegate from the Groot Collective was next. Our people wish to establish formal diplomatic relations with Earth. We have much to offer in the way of agricultural and biological sciences. One by one, representatives from conquered worlds approached to thank the human delegation and offer partnerships. What had started as humanity's darkest hour was becoming the foundation for a new alliance of free worlds. As the crowds thinned, Jurist Prime Kethmore approached the human delegation. His crystalline form had stabilized to a muted blue, resignation among his species. Ambassador Caldwell, he said through the universal translator, the Zephyrian hegemony acknowledges the tribunal's decision. We did not fully understand the legal implications of our expansion policies. Dr. Phillips looked up from her notes. 17 species Jurist Prime, billions of lives affected. How did you not understand? The alien's form flickered. We are warriors and administrators, not lawyers. We assumed that military superiority granted legal authority. We were incorrect. Admiral Harrison stood, extending his hand in the traditional human gesture of respect. Jurist Prime, the human delegation bears no ill will toward the Zephyrian people. We hope this can be the beginning of a more equitable relationship between our species. The crystalline alien studied the extended hand for a moment before reaching out with one of his 4 appendages to grasp it, a gesture that would be recorded as the first formal diplomatic contact between humans and Zephyrians as equals. There is something else, Kethmore said quietly. The Zephyrian Council has authorized me to make an additional offer. Beyond the reparations mandated by the tribunal, we would like to propose a voluntary technology exchange program. Ambassador Caldwell raised an eyebrow. What kind of exchange? Our military technology in exchange for your legal expertise. Today we learned that understanding galactic law is more powerful than possessing superior weapons. We would like our future expansions to be legitimate. Captain Morgan looked surprised. You want to expand legally? There are many uninhabited worlds suitable for colonization, and many species interested in voluntary trade partnerships. We simply never considered that approach before. We thought conquest was more efficient. Dr. Phillips consulted her datapad. The reparations package includes advanced shield technology, faster-than-light communication systems, and medical knowledge that could extend human lifespan by decades. An additional technology exchange could accelerate our development by centuries. And in return, Caldwell said thoughtfully, we help you navigate galactic law and establish legitimate trade relationships instead of predatory conquests. Exactly, Kethmore confirmed. We are new to the concept of legal compliance. We could use experienced teachers. As they prepared to leave the tribunal chamber, Dr. Phillips reviewed the reparations documentation one more time. Peter, according to these figures, the Zephyrians are going to be providing Earth with advanced technology, industrial assistance, and educational resources for the next century. Justice has an interesting way of balancing the scales, Caldwell replied. They attacked us because they thought we were weak and primitive. Now they are going to help us become one of the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy. The irony was not lost on any of them as they departed Kepler Station. The Zephyrians had come to Earth expecting an easy conquest. Instead, they had discovered that true strength in the galaxy came not from superior weapons, but from understanding the rules that govern civilized behavior. Ambassador, Captain Morgan said as they boarded their transport, what happens to us now? Earth is free. We are getting massive technological assistance and we have new allies throughout the galaxy. Caldwell looked out at the stars through the viewport. Now, Captain, we prove that humanity deserves its place among the galactic community. We show that we can use our new knowledge and technology responsibly. And the Zephyrians? They have 50 years of supervised probation to learn how to be good galactic citizens. I suspect they will be excellent students. They do not like losing, and they just learned that following the rules is the only way to avoid future losses. As their ship departed for Earth, the massive space station continued its ancient function as a center of galactic justice. The Zephyrian case would be studied for generations as an example of how even the most powerful military force could be brought to justice through proper legal procedures and the courage to invoke them. 6 months after the tribunal's decision, Admiral Kyle Harrison stood in the observation deck of the UES Harmony, humanity's first truly interstellar vessel, built with a combination of human engineering and Zephyrian technology provided under the Reparations Agreement. The ship represented a new era for Earth's space program. Through the reinforced viewport, he could see the construction platforms orbiting Luna, where teams of human and Zephyrian engineers worked side by side on the next generation of Earth's fleet. The sight still amazed him. Former enemies now collaborating as mandated by galactic law, but with a cooperation that had evolved beyond mere legal obligation. Admiral, called Commander Amy Rodriguez, her new rank reflecting Earth's rapidly expanding space force. We are receiving a transmission from the Kepler Station Diplomatic Corps. Harrison smiled. Rodriguez had requested assignment to the Harmony specifically to work with the mixed human-Zephyrian crew. Her tactical expertise, combined with Zephyrian computational systems, had proven remarkably effective. Put it through to the main screen. Ambassador Peter Caldwell appeared, but the background behind him was different. Not the familiar conference rooms of Kepler Station, but what appeared to be a massive assembly hall filled with representatives from dozens of species. Admiral, I am pleased to report that the Galactic Council has formally voted to invite Earth to join as a full member civilization, Caldwell announced. The vote was unanimous. The bridge crew erupted in cheers, but Harrison noticed something else in the background of the transmission. Familiar crystalline forms, Zephyrian representatives, applauding the decision along with everyone else. There is more, Caldwell continued. The Council has also established the Harrison-Morgan Doctrine, named after you and Captain Morgan, which strengthens protections for developing species and creates a framework for technological transfer that promotes growth rather than dependence. Captain Lisa Morgan, now serving as Earth's liaison to the Galactic Exploration Consortium, appeared beside Caldwell in the transmission. Kyle, we have identified 43 star systems with developing civilizations that could benefit from protected contact protocols. The Council wants Earth to help develop first contact procedures. Harrison felt a surge of pride. Humanity had gone from nearly extinct to galactic peacekeepers in less than a year. Admiral, came a new voice from behind him. He turned to see Subcommander HFY, a young Zephyrian officer who had volunteered for the Cultural Exchange Program. I have completed the analysis of the Proxima Centauri system. The developing civilization there shows signs of early space exploration. The bridge's main tactical display activated, showing detailed scans of a solar system 12 light-years away. A small space station orbited the third planet, with primitive but functional spacecraft moving between the planet and its single moon. They are about 50 years behind where humanity was when the Zephyrians first arrived, Rodriguez observed. Perfect candidates for protected contact. Dr. Janet Phillips, now heading Earth's Xenological Institute, had been monitoring the discussion from her research station. The preliminary biological scans suggest a silicon-based species with a collective intelligence structure. First contact protocols will need to be completely redesigned. Harrison nodded, studying the data. Sub-Commander HFY, what is your assessment of their defensive capabilities? The young Zephyrian's form shifted to a thoughtful green. Negligible, Admiral. Their weapons technology is purely kinetic-based. No energy shields, no quantum computers, no faster-than-light communication. In other words, Harrison said quietly, they are exactly where we were 6 months ago. The parallel was not lost on anyone on the bridge. A developing species focused on exploration and growth, completely unaware that they shared the galaxy with civilizations possessing technology that would seem like magic to them. Admiral, Rodriguez said, the Galactic Council's protection protocols are clear. We need to establish a monitoring station in their system and begin the graduated contact sequence. Agreed, Harrison replied, but we do this right. Ambassador Caldwell, what is the timeline for the formal first contact? Based on the new protocols, we begin with passive observation for 6 months, followed by limited contact with their most advanced scientists, then gradual revelation of galactic civilization over a 2-year period, Caldwell explained. The goal is to prepare them for full galactic membership without the cultural shock that could destroy their civilization. Harrison looked around his bridge. Humans and Zephyrians working together, former enemies now united in the goal of protecting the weak and fostering galactic cooperation. It was a transformation that would have seemed impossible during those dark hours when the Zephyrian fleet first appeared over Earth. There is something else you should know, Subcommander Yexhai said. This species, they call themselves the Karani. They have been broadcasting mathematical theorems and musical compositions into space for decades. They are actively seeking contact with other intelligent life. Dr. Phillips smiled. That actually makes the contact process easier. Species that are actively seeking contact adapt better to the revelation that they are not alone. Commander Rodriguez, lay in a course for the Proxima Centauri system. We have a civilization to protect, Harrison ordered. As the UES Harmony activated its quantum drive and leaped toward the stars, Harrison reflected on the simple truth that had saved his species and changed the galaxy. Sometimes the most powerful weapon was not technology or superior firepower, but understanding the rules and having the courage to use them. Admiral, Rodriguez said as they entered hyperspace, I have been thinking about what we learned. The Zephyrians conquered 17 species before they tried to conquer us. What made the difference? We knew about rule number 1, Harrison replied. More importantly, we had someone who understood how to use it. But why did none of the other species know? Dr. Phillips looked up from her research station. Most developing species focus on military technology when they achieve spaceflight. They assume that superior weapons are the key to survival. Very few study galactic law until it is too late. The Karani will be different, Subcommander Yexhai observed. With proper guidance, they can learn both technological advancement and legal protection simultaneously. As they traveled through hyperspace toward the Karani homeworld, the crew began preparing for humanity's first mission as protectors rather than survivors. The irony was profound. 6 months ago, Earth had been helpless against galactic predators. Now they were becoming the galaxy's newest guardians. Jake, Harrison called to Communications Officer Turner. Prepare a full documentation suite. I want every detail of our contact with the Karani recorded under Rule Number 1 protocols. Turner smiled. Already configured, sir. Full spectrum recording. Multiple redundant archives, quantum encrypted transmission to the galactic network. We will not make the mistake of incomplete documentation. Through the viewport, the stars shifted as they approached their destination. Ahead lay a developing civilization that would soon learn they were not alone in the universe. Behind them, Earth continued its transformation from a single-world species to a galactic civilization. The universe was vast, filled with wonders and dangers in equal measure. But now humanity understood something that the Zephyrians had learned too late. True strength came not from the ability to conquer, but from the wisdom to protect those who could not protect themselves. And in the deep archives of the Galactic Council, filed under precedent cases of historical significance, the complete documentation of humanity's first contact with the Zephyrian hegemony served as a permanent reminder that even the smallest species could change the galaxy if they knew the rules and had the courage to invoke them. The Harmony dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Karani system, its sensors immediately beginning the careful observation that would mark the beginning of a new chapter in galactic civilization. This time, first contact would be done right, with patience, wisdom, and the full protection of galactic law.